Microforum is trying to wedge its way into the adventure game marketplace with Maabus. I think that's how you pronounce it, Maabus.
That's right, like Fernando, darling, you look marvelous.
Because it's better to look good than to play good.
The game was released on 3 CD-ROMs, so it's got to be good, right?
Sure, right. Ever hear of a little number called Flash Traffic or Creature Shock? Meet their bastard child. She's attractive enough, but has a serious playing disability.
Please, we prefer to think of her as interactively challenged.
So here's the plot rundown. The government is concerned about an unidentified type of radiation that was picked up by a spy satellite coming from the small South Pacific island of Alaratora. Now, Alaratora is a little weird in that it's not on hardly any maps. According to the manual, quote, "It was familiar to early sailors who often found themselves either drifting in still waters or battling fierce storms," unquote.
You may ask yourself, how can the military mount a mission to a half-mythical island that isn't on any maps? How did they know that the satellite record was from that island in the first place?
For the answers to these and other questions, go fish. You'll never find out. Just let them fall down the plot hole is my advice, because things get a lot worse very fast.
After having already trashed 2 missions to the island, Matlock here decides to put you on the case. Why? Because you're the best.
Yeah, you must be pretty good if you can afford to shell out the bucks for this loser.
Now, just in case anyone was worried about continuity here, check out Matlock's uniform. Supposedly, he's an admiral in the Department of Defense.
Get out of town. You mean Oxford shirts are part of the uniform now? And check out that souvenir cap from the battleship Alabama. Swanky.
You're not actually going to the island yourself, by the way. No, you'll be behind the remote controls of a very special tank, the Crawler 1000. Its amazing accessories include a powerful laser which can fire 3 shots before running out of power.
Then there's the powerful missile launcher, which, despite all appearances in this picture, only contains 4 missiles.
And finally, a goodly supply of powerful toxic gas, enough to attack 3 times.
It's funny, but I thought the military buildup in the 80s would have given us more resources than that.
So this effectively means that you have 10 units of death to deal out to the mutated beasties wandering the island. And before you ask, no, there is no reloading. Sometimes 1 or 2 of these weapons will jam, leaving you with even more limited choice.
And here's how combat works. A monster will come at you and you will immediately know that it's going to attack you, because your weapons will come online. If the creature's just passing by, your computer somehow knows this and refuses to fire a gun.
It's amazing what they're doing with computers these days, isn't it?
When the critter comes at you, you have a few seconds of clear time to lock on with your crosshairs. If you manage to do this, the picture freezes for a couple of seconds while the CD loads the appropriate death scene. In this case, my laser chops the head off this one-horned thingy.
There's no real difference between the various creatures as far as how hard it is to kill them. They're each worth 1 death unit. Isn't that nifty? Especially when you're trying to conserve your 10 shots.
On the other hand, if you either miss or happen to fire with a jammed or empty weapon,
bummer.
The screen freezes for a couple of seconds while the CD loads up the kill you dead sequence. Then the monster kills you dead. Then your tank explodes. Then, for some reason, the whole island explodes.
Then Admiral Matlock comes back on, telling you what a jerk you are for passing yourself off as an expert when you obviously can't tie your shoes and chew gum at the same time. Then the whole world blows up. Really?
I love a game that feeds my already enormous ego. I die, the world dies. There's a synchronicity there that just...
Oh, shut up.
By the way, are you sick of looking at this interface yet? Too bad, you're stuck with it for the entire game.
You might try and look at the bright side. In many ways, it's a very amusing interface. For example, look at these sensor readings which are constantly wagging on this side of the screen. This is the first time I've ever seen an unidentified meter. How can you set up a gauge to register the unknown?
You know, like, I don't know what it is, but there sure is a hell of a lot of it.
Then there's these central buttons. I get a great kick out of the fact that the manual or online help feature is the same size, same color, and in the same immediate area as the self-destruct button. Now that's planning.
There's also this analyzer button. It's kind of neat. You press it and then you click on something and it tells you what it is, like this tree. It turns out that it's typical jungle growth. Phew. Am I glad to know that?
And if you find an alien artifact, it tells you that it has no idea what it is.
Then Admiral Matlock comes on and tells you that he doesn't know what it is either. Boy, the resources available to the modern military, I tell you. There's a few other interesting design things that we haven't mentioned yet. First of all, you're supposed to destroy the source of the wacko radiation in under an hour without blowing up the world.
If you're a real loser, you can set the time to 2 hours. Does that give you some idea of how jam-packed with goodies this product is? 2 hours tops. And the monsters are not moving around like in a real video game. No, they stay where they are till you come kill them with one shot or until you miss.
And the world blows up. Perhaps Microforum saw that the challenge was a bit limited somewhere along the line. So what was their response?
Hey man, can we make the game a lot harder if we don't let players save their game when they get to disc 3, man?
We're not making this up, folks.
Okay, now we've been ragging on this game for the past 10 scenes. We've got to say something good about it. We've got to be, balanced and stuff.
Okay, nice things. The rendered stuff is pretty. I like the big horned demony thing on the box. He's cool. I never found him in the game, but he's cool anyway.
And the sound is nice. It's sort of choppy because it stops dead whenever the CD is accessed.
Which is constantly.
Now stop that. You're getting negative again. When the sound is going, it's really nice. Jungle stuff.
Okay, can we be real again? I want to talk about puzzles.
Okay, vent away.
See this? This is one of the very, very few puzzles in Maabus. You have to push one of the 6 hieroglyphics with your robot arm. If it's the right one, you get to leave the building. If it's the wrong one, you die.
And then the world blows up.
Right. The thing is, there's no way to tell which one to push, except by trial and error. Wow, what an intellectual challenge.
Uh-oh, you know what? We've run out of time.
Are you kidding? I could fill another 5 scenes, man.
Trust me, they get the point. You do get the point, don't you?
Here's a hint. This game is yet another sad example of a company claiming a product is worth the time and money just because it comes on more than one CD.
This should not be news to you, America, but bigger is not necessarily better. Ask the makers of Heaven's Gate. But you know the best thing about Maabus? It's really fun to say. Maabus.
Maabus.